why I think it's so important for people to be embodied, like being connected to your brain. You're putting your brain and your body and your spirit together. That's the Trinity. That's going to help us to sort of be a little bit more realized and to be present and be more responsive and be more connected to nature, which is going to help to heal us. We did something called Moving Through the Budget, where you are learning about the budget and the budgeting process of the city of Boston and using dance as the modality to do that. And originally they were like, what do you mean? A flash mob? And I was like, oh, Jesus, no. You're going to do a flash mob about the budget? Like, no. Like, cards. Like, no, not at all.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Through with a Splash of Tea, a podcast where conversation is key. Today, we have a very, very special guest. Today's guest is Jenny Oliver. Jenny is an artist, educator, performer, choreographer, and advocate whose work centers around artistic integrity, cultural responsiveness, and the collective healing. Based in the greater Boston area with deep roots in the Cape Verdean and Native American heritage, Jenny confronts the erasure of Native people and the systemic injustices facing Black communities. Her choreography doesn't just move bodies, it moves conversations, policies, and possibilities. So in today's conversation, we're going to talk about the transformative power of dance, the urgency of cultural memory, and the role of artists as architects of change. But first things first, thank you, Jenny, for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Of course. Okay, so I have all my guests start at the very beginning of like their story, of like where they grew up and like their background and how their family dynamic was, because I think that has a lot to say about, or pours a lot into who you are today. So tell us everything.
Totally. Thank you so much for reaching out and for creating this opportunity and this platform. Beautiful and amazing to be talking to another Black woman sitting across from me, and to be able to do that work here in Massachusetts, I think is also really powerful. So thank you very much. I'm originally from New Bedford, Massachusetts. So my heritage is Cape Verdean and Native American. I come from working class parents. My mom and my dad both were factory workers and they're unionized. And so I grew up in a household that was about care, not only for yourself, but care for others, seeing the examples of my parents as advocates for not only in the workplace, but within the family, at the church, in the neighborhood, was really something that I didn't know was forming me as a person. I just thought everybody had awesome parents like I do and had the same kinds of struggles that I didn't know were struggles, that I was just like, oh, this is just like how everybody is. And so being in New Bedford and being in a whaling city as we're known, it offered a lot of opportunity for engaging with one another and practicing advocacy. So not only did I see my parents, my mom like in the 80s, on the picket line and me being with her as a baby, like in the playpen, just also picketing, I guess, with my mom, or seeing my dad having to go to work and support labor workers in the ways that he had to do that. I then, in turn, when I was in the end of middle school into high school, started working with an organization called Third Eye Unlimited, which is like a youth-driven organization. We were there at the beginning. That's how old I am. We was the first generation learning how to phone bank, learning how to advocate for the needs that are in your community, and then to use the art form of hip hop as the mode to do that. And creating, they have like we had a whole festival that was like in Buttonwood Park, in a big park in New Bedford, where you had like all 5 of the sections of hip hop represented, and the youth are coming together to not only organize, but also to amplify the issues that were important to us and the things that we wanted to see either changed or resources reallocated. Not that it necessarily led to in our time frame, like in my 6 years that I was, doing this, or 5 years that I was doing this. But it lays the found work, right? It lays down the found work not only in New Bedford, but lays it down in my life on how do you connect with other people? How do you be a better neighbor? How do you make sure that I'm not okay if you're not okay? So what do you need so that I can make sure that I have what I need by making sure that you have what you need? So I did a lot of work like that. I have 2 sisters. I'm the oldest, so I give big alpha energy. I'm also a Scorpio that you didn't ask that, but I'm a Scorpio and I have big Scorpio energy. So they say,
About Scorpios. I don't know enough about zodiacs. How are Scorpios?
oh my goodness. Okay. So I like to think of myself as quite pleasant. I'm quite pleasant, but Scorpios are known to sort of be a little bit more perhaps perceived as withdrawn and a little bit like I can be very perceptive and watching the thing and taking, like, I mean, you think about a scorpion like in the desert.
Yeah.
You know, we don't strike all the time, but when we do strike, it's calculated. We never miss. And we were waiting patiently. We like play the long game. But I apply that kind of energy to my life, actually, you know, and I play the long game on where it is that I am today and how I'm going to get over there. And usually it's by perceiving what's happening around me so that I can actually be present and responsive in the moment. And there was something that was said in my high school. I went to New Bedford High School, and they used to say over the announcements every morning, the choices you make today will shape your world tomorrow. But literally, that's so true, right? Like if I'm caring about and being perceptive to what's happening in this moment and deciding about what needs to happen here, that's going to set me up for the next thing and allow me to strike intentionally when the opportunity presents itself.
Yes.
So in that way, I claim Scorpio energy, but I'm a big sister. I'm a dancer. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to go back a little bit. You mentioned hip hop and how that volunteering in that group was able to be transformative and really help the youth and bring them together. Okay, so why, it seems that dance, even from a very young age, was big for you. Why, where did that start? How did that start? Who danced? Or were you the first to dance in your family? How did that start?
Yeah, my mom says that we took all the dance from her, so it wasn't her. She said when y'all came out, y'all took it. My mother don't mind. Yeah, she got 2 left feet and 3 right ones. And growing up, I was just really an active kid. I mean, I think these days in 2025, I probably would have been on medication, like hyper, climbing trees, bouncing off the walls, touching things, like doing things, just busy. And so gratefully, I think that one of the things about the era that I grew up in is that there was a lot of free programming. So my mother had me in everything. I played in the marching band. I played an instrument. I did a color guard for a quick second and couldn't keep it together enough to stay focused on that. I did swimming. I did dance lessons. I did gymnastics. So whatever was available, my mother was like, I'm putting this energetic child in that. And because it's not like how it is today, it didn't cost $1 million to do all of these things. So I got to taste a lot of different types of creative outlets and ways of playing and being with other kids and figuring out how I am. But dancing was something, I don't know exactly why my mom put me into dance, but I started when I was like 3. I'm that kind of, I started out as like an infant practically. But I danced and I did gymnastics both very seriously in my youth. And then when I graduated from high school, I was like, oh, I kind of like do something real, right? And I was like, but I was not a very good student. So I wasn't I didn't apply myself very well. And my high school was huge, like 4,000 kids in my high school. My graduating class, I think it ended up being like 900 something, but there were like 1,100 kids going into school. I was busy. I was energetic and just really in everybody's business sometimes. So I wasn't paying attention. And when I graduated, I was just like, oh, okay, I think that looking at what choices I've made so far and what's ahead of me, my parent and the way that I love my parents and the way that they raised me, and I see the value in like how expensive dance is, even at that time, how dance lessons, dance shoes, costumes, like all of that kind of stuff, knowing that I had 2 younger siblings. I have my parents that are working in factories. At one point, my mother lost her job, was, on welfare or whatever. Like we had the whole gamut of a situation that I said, okay, I'm not very interested in science necessarily. I'm not good at math. Writing is just going to bore me to death. But my parents invested so much in this dancing. Let me go for that, because at least at least my parents are going to get a return. They're going to get an ROI on what they've given me throughout the sacrifices that they made to allow me to dance for my whole life. So I applied for college and I got in, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to go to this thing for dance. And neither of my parents went to college either. So none of us kind of really knew. And I was like, I'll just keep doing this thing. And in college is when I got burst wide open with like understanding Blackness and dance as a form of communication and our roots and like all of that. And then that just like steered me into a whole other place that I'm at currently today.
Wow. Yeah. Where did you go for college?
Oh, goodness. I went to Dean College.
What happened to Dean?
Well, Dean is just tanking as an institution. And, my parents were just like, you're going to go to school? Like, cool. And that's another thing I'll say too, that my parents were amazing. They were like, whatever it is that you want to do, it's your life. Just you better be good at it. Period. And even if you're not going to go to school, fine. You're going to get a job and you're going to be good at it. Like you are going to contribute to your own life, not just contribute to us or contribute to this household or our family legacy or anything like that, but you're going to be good for yourself. And I know that many people don't have that kind of backing from their parents to be like, oh, I want to go into the arts. Like, they're like, no, you're going to be a lawyer or a doctor, a nurse or something, which we have lots of nurses in my family. But I went to Dean and I didn't know any better. I just picked the school that had the most variety of dance styles. And I was like, okay, I'll go to that one. And it's like far enough from home. It's like 45 minutes away driving, but like not, it was enough. It wasn't like California. And my number one school that I wanted to get into, I didn't get into because my grades weren't strong. So I was like, I guess I'll just go to this college. And it ended up turning out to be an amazing experience. And since the time that I graduated eons ago, honestly, the faculty have kind of like shifted and changed. And even I didn't understand the system of college. Like you want to go to a school that has a reputation, that has alumni, that can provide a network for you. And like, I didn't know any of that stuff. So I went to a school that they ain't really there's nobody to connect you to. And as a matter of fact, sometimes when I was younger and I go to auditions, they'd be like, what school is that? Like, we don't even know anything about anybody there or like what they even, like, is that even real? And I was like, it would be my life. It would be my life that's what would happen. And I was like, I guess I'll just like have to make it a thing. But I went to Dean. It's in Franklin, Mass.
Okay, let's talk about your experience there, because that's what really opened your eyes when it came to dance and the possibilities of the communication and moving on and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that experience and like, why was Dean such a pivotal point for you?
Yeah. Dean is a PWI. So it's a predominantly white institution. It's a private school or private college, whatever that. It's not like a state university or a state school. It's in the suburbs. It's in Franklin, Massachusetts, where like I don't even know if there is a Black population. I don't think so. I think the Black population is on the campus. And so going there was actually, I don't know, in some ways it kind of continued some of it. It deepened some of the questions that I had around my own identity, because it was made even more clearly to me where I didn't fit in or where I didn't belong or where the gaps were in my own training or like my own lived experience. As my mom's grandmother was born in Cape Verde, but I'm multiple generations here. So when I was in high school, the Cape Verdean kids were like, well, you ain't Cape Verdean, you're American. You're not, and I'd be like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Or being Native American and having to not identify with that because you were sort of raised that it was like this thing over there. And when you were in school, they're like, all the Indians died and like, Fifle goes west type narratives. And I was like, okay. And I was a kid that was busy and all over the place. I was like, whatever, go climb a tree. Like, what? I know I'm here. You telling me like make a turkey with your hand. Okay, fine. So I always kind of like left the identity thing. And it was just like, whatever. When I went to Dean, I was like, oh, I'm also not Black here. Like, I'm not Black enough. I'm not white, obviously, but like I'm totally light skinned and all of that. I didn't have as strong of a dance training because of the school that I went. I went to the school that my parents could afford for me to go to. And the type of student that I kind of was like not taking things seriously. So I think I struggled a lot in that way. But what that offered me was the sort of magnet. Like I ended up being a magnet to one of my professors. Her name's Naila Randall Bellinger. I still dance with her today. We have a show at the end of this month. And she was the first Black teacher that I ever had in my life. Black dance teacher. Like this beautiful brown skinned woman with locks, standing in the front of the room, commanding the space, and also being like, commanding and demanding, and being like, this is what we're going to do. And I was like, oh, shoot, this is the first time that like somebody's really like stood up in this way. And it really inspired me. And then she started to, her work is very much around scholarship, African-American studies, the work around Toni Morrison and all of the Black Power movement. So when I was around her, I was like, oh, like Africa is not just a continent. It is a place that has multiple different ways of communicating and the ways that movement has been sourced there. And then because of the transatlantic slave movement and the ways that people ended up on this side and who they intersected with as indigenous people that were already here, and then the colonizing entities that also were interfacing that, and how that changes movement, but movement it's like a metamorphosis and a way for us to continue to communicate with one another as a form of like safety, as a form of connection, as a form of understanding. She just exposed me. I've marinated on this for a long time. It wasn't like this literal, but she just sparked so much in me. And one of the big pieces was understanding the Caribbean. And so I've spent a lot of time in Haiti and learning about Haitian dance and dance technique. And that started from her exposing us to Haitian artists in her courses, and understanding the power of revolution. And that if it wasn't for Haiti, none of us would be free. If it wasn't for Haiti, Black people globally would not be in the position that we're in. And a lot of that came from the movement and from the dance. And so you can see that I'm like electric. I've been electric since that time. So it was just really transformative for me and the gift I think was that there wasn't a whole lot of Black kids. I think in the whole dance program, there were 5 Black girls. Right? Tell me about it. I mean, it's not a huge school. There's like 1,000 kids in total, including commuters. So it's a small school, especially from what I was coming from in high school. But because there was such a small group of us, we got a lot of attention, a lot of information, a lot of care, a lot of pouring into. So that ended up being to my benefit. Yeah. So Dean was, it was all right. It's okay. Glad it's over.
Wait, so are you still, say the teacher's name one more time, or you guys are still, you have a show together at the end of the month?
Yeah, Naila Randall Bellinger.
Naila Randall Bellinger.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She changed things for you. She changed dance. It's like she didn't change it, like morph it for you, but I feel like she like was able to like open your eyes or like, you know, like push the walls out for you. And you were like, dang, like this is what it is too. Like I already knew like how it made me feel, but it can also make me feel like this. Yeah.
And I think she was the first person in an academic setting that made me take something serious. I wasn't a serious student. I didn't really care about, it's like, oh, that paper is like, I'll do it, but like, or like that math problem, like, I don't know why there's words in it. Like, why are you asking me about the train moving? So, like, what does that have to do with it? And why are there angles and like shapes? I thought we were talking about numbers. I'm kind of that literal sometimes. But dance, when she came in with like all of the history, and this is why shapes matter because of sacred geometry. This is why writing matters because of the ways that we're able to encode things. Like a lot of the pieces kind of came together for me, but she was the first person to help me to understand the seriousness of education. Yeah. And movement.
Yeah. Okay, so what happened after Dean?
I graduated. Graduated, and then I said, "Oh shit."
Did it hit you like a ton of bricks?
Kind of. I mean, she made it more serious for me. I still was not like an aspiring student. I was like, I'm glad that's done. It's like I was over. Kind of. I was like, oh, I gotta pay this loan back. Somebody's gonna figure out how to get a job. I have to get a job.
Oh, I send this bill too.
Or I was like, oh wow, this is intense. This is like a real thing. So actually, though, when I graduated, and knew that I couldn't go back to New Bedford because New Bedford doesn't have opportunities for dance. I had already outgrown New Bedford the minute I left New Bedford. And I also knew that I didn't have a spirit for New York. It's too big. My dad's from New York. My dad's born in Queens. I go to New York, I'm like, it smells. Every half a block smells different. I have a headache. There's too many people. There's a lot of stimulation. I'm already busy. I don't need to like have all of that on top. Plus, with the dancing, I mean, I think that one of the soft sore spots for me, I think, is just the circumstances of life. You know, I got into early on when I was at Dean, I got into one of the programs at the Ailey School. And so that's a big deal. Alvin Ailey as a dance company is like the #1 modern Black dance company like in the world, like since the 60s. So they are incredible. And I got in to the school, but couldn't afford to go. And so money and training go hand in hand, right? And that's where I was like, oh, I don't have the same kind of resources. I never really did. And so to go and compete, right? To compete or audition at that level, I also was a little bit like, I can't live with 7 people. I don't want to do that. I don't passionate about this, but not that passionate. No, I was like, there gotta be another way. I'm passionate about it, and I will find another way. Clearly that's not my path. There must be another one, and maybe I'll create it.
What else you got? Oh, the willingness to create it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but I liked Boston. There was something about Boston was more city than New Bedford, not as city as New York, closer to New York. I could fly anywhere. There was a lot more variety of dance. There was the West African dance styles. There was Haitian dance that was there. So I was like, oh, I can kind of like make my own thing happen. So I'm going to do that. So I moved, actually, college friend of mine talked to their mom and said, Mom, this girl really wants to dance and can she come and live with us until she like kind of figures things out? And the mom was like, yes. And she's a Haitian woman. Her name's Marlene Edwards. She's my Haitian mom. And I lived with them for like 3 years with no rent or anything. They were like, just come as you are. And I was like, oh, that sounds good. But they were like, you're going to live how we live. And I was like, okay, sure, whatever that is. I didn't understand that was another pivotal moment in my life. It was like an anthropological experience living in that home and being a child of immigrants. And like, you know, them lights is off at a certain time. That door is closed at a certain time. On Sundays, we're all going to church. On Friday nights, we all go to dance rehearsal. So the woman, the mother, had this dance company called Akasial Dance Troupe that she had since 1983, I think. And it was a Haitian folkloric dance ensemble. And I didn't even know that this was going to be the gift. And so living there and being forced to go to rehearsal, I was like, well, it forced me to dance. Okay, that's going to be hard. But I ended up learning so much about the culture, living in the home and how they relate to each other as people. The food, the language. The grandmother lived in the home and they were like, you will address her. And she does not speak English. So, and I was like, oh, okay, sure. Yeah. Oh, we're going to eat la bouillie every day. Okay. For breakfast, like oatmeal kind of thing. For breakfast, okay, thank you. Rice and beans and chicken every night. Okay, great. It sounds, and don't come in the house with outside food. I think I did that maybe once. How dare you come in my house? I stand on my feet over the hot stove all day for you to come in with that shit. I was like, oh my God.
This will never happen again.
I'm sorry. But I learned, I just learned a lot. So when I moved after I graduated, I graduated, and like the next month I moved to Boston, and I've been in Boston ever since. And I've just been dancing and going to Haiti and Brazil and teaching and exposing myself. And yeah.
Wow. Wow.
You didn't know you were going to get all this when you emailed me, huh?
I love it. I always hope that I do. I always hope that I can get at wow, that's amazing. Okay, so how were you able to turn dance into something that provided you a living, like made a stable income?
Yeah. Well, let me start by saying that fully did not happen until pandemic. 2020.
When did you move in with your Haitian family?
In 2005. There's my age. Clock it. Thank you, Mom. That's what I was told. Thank you, Mom and Dad.
Wow.
Yeah. So I made the decision. I didn't want to teach. I was like, it goes along with the story. I was like, I'm not teaching. I'm gonna dance. And then I realized, like, oh, there's no dance jobs here, really, right? Unless you're gonna do like Boston Ballet. I was not a ballerina. I don't have that type of. I couldn't do it. I was a black dancer. Black meaning grounded and rooted in a different way, because I understand that Black dance also is ballet, and that Black people dance ballet and do amazing things. But for me, I was more of a percussive dancer, connected and rooted to the continent of Africa. So I decided, though, that I needed a job. And I was like, as long as I have this student loan, I am going to stay in my field. And if that means that I need to get a teaching job. Even though I don't want to teach, I'm not going to bag groceries to pay this student loan. So if that's what I have to do to be in the field, again, going back to that sort of Scorpio, look at the whole thing and then like strike, I was like, okay, it doesn't feel great. It feels a little bit like failure that like I have to go in this route, but also at least at the minimum, I'm in my field and I'm going to pay these student loans off in the field. Again, another opportunity for it to be a gift. That when I started teaching, I had what I thought were very helicopter-y kind of studio owners. Like they were, at that point, they were in their mid-60s and would like sit in the back of my classroom while I'm teaching. And then after class would be like, you need to fix this and this needs to go here and da, 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 da. And I was like, huh? And at the time, you know, you would feel a way, but I didn't. And looking back, I'm like, oh, they were giving me, it was like having an internship. It's like having a paid internship. Now they were coming from I'm telling you how to do a thing, but I said, I'm going to reframe that. And I'm going to say, okay, this is actually really helpful. So I just was teaching and really started to hone my craft. And I think that I taught in a lot of white studios, and white meaning like suburban, affluent types of people. And when you come in as a regular, I hope you can sense that I'm like a real regular type of I am who I am. I've always been like this. That does not, people don't always understand how to read that, or that's like, oh, she doesn't really know what she's doing. Or like, oh, we're going to give her the recreation. We're going to give her, or we're going to mix her class and have different levels. And I don't think that they were being intentionally trying to like harm me or make it difficult. But I think that I was like the easiest, like we'll just throw all that over there so we can focus our other teachers on these kids that need to be developed. That was another gift, because now I've learned how to manage a room that has lots going on. I can speak to everybody in the room. I can elevate everybody simultaneously, but at their own level, and see everyone at their own level and have the whole room progress and move forward and feel good about themselves while also being challenged without anybody feeling like, oh, I suck, or I have to be in the back, or I have to, whatever the case is. So it was really like teaching and hopping around from different studios, saving my money. That family that took me in allowed me to save money. a piece of the story that's missing is that I got my CNA certificate. So I was a nursing assistant in high school.
Oh, wow.
Uh-huh. And then I was doing that I never had a spring break. I never went to like Cancun or like whatever. When there was a spring break from school, I was home working. When there was a Christmas break, I was home working, but I was working in a healthcare job, which means I was making money and I was able to save money. I ended up hurting my back senior year of college lifting somebody. And I went to the chiropractor for like a year and they were like, either you're going to dance or you're going to be a CNA. And I said, well, I paid all this money and I owe this. I got to stay in this field at least until the bill is paid. So I chose to stick to dancing. But then what happened out of that when I was, I had shared that I'm still dancing with Naila in her company, Roots Up Rising Dance Company. And one of the dancers in there was a nurse. And she was working in a psych hospital. And I was like, oh, my back, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And she was like, I'm going to get you a job. She gets me, because I also want to stay in healthcare. Because at this point, I was just slightly outside of undergrad, that if I wanted to go for like a nurse practitioner license, I could do that. Because my credits I could do like an accelerated program. So I was like, I want to keep that door open just in case something happens with this dance. Because I've always been told, you're going to get injured or you're going to get old or no one's going to pick you, even though I have pick me energy sometimes, but I'm not really a pick me. I'm like, I'll choose myself. So I was thinking like, oh, I want to keep that healthcare kind of corridor still open. So I ended up moving into a psych position and I worked at a psych hospital for 15 years. And working in that hospital is how I was able to fund a lot of things. So I was doing the studio teaching and then also creating a schedule every week or every month based on my availability. So sometimes I work 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7. You work doubles. You can work like 2.5 shifts. I ended up working in the outpatient clinic and the partial hospitalization program. Like I was mixing my schedule to fit what I needed to happen with dance and then being like, okay, now I'll pull that money together. And that happened for a long time. And then September of 2019, I was like, this is it. I'm done. With the healthcare side of it. And I was so far away from having any kind of credits that was going to do anything for me at that point. I was like, I'm not starting over. So I guess now I'm dancing fully. And I had gotten the job at in higher ed in 2016. So at the time I had like kind of 3 things happening. I had like the studio work, the hospital work, and I was working in higher ed. And I said, something got to give. And I think I can let that piece go. And I don't know, it's all kind of like unfolded and now I'm able to work fully 100% as an artist, teaching and making.
Okay, there's a few rabbit holes we need to go down. First one that we're going to dive down is the psych hospital. I need to know how that was. Like, how was that journey? Like being in that space for 15 years, like how were you able to make connections? Was that able to, in any way, shape, or form, pour into your dance? Was that able to help you, in turn, figure out who you are? Like, how did that help? What did that do? What was that like?
Yeah, so many things. I think that when you were introducing me and I think there was like talking about like connection or like the healing components of dance, I think that my eyes got opened a lot more working in the psych hospital. Because one, you get training, right? Like they train you. I came in entry level. I didn't go in, I'm not a nurse or anything. We went in entry level and we learned a lot about body language in order to like maintain safety. And then this was at the time when they were still doing hands-on. I don't think it's hands-on anymore. Like you can't act physically, like take people down and restrain them in the kinds of ways that we could at that time. But you have to be able to read if someone is nonverbal or someone's schizophrenic or like whatever's happening, like how are you able to keep yourself safe, keep the other patient safe, and keep that person safe from themselves as well. And that training and then the experience of actually the practice of doing it many, many years, you start to understand become, for me, I started to become a little bit more compassionate to like, we're all going through a thing, right? And also who gets to decide what normal is? Is normal the person that like is able to participate in capitalism and only be valued for what they can produce and stay in the lines and like not do anything else? Or is normal can normal include something else? And then how can we allow that other person to fully express themselves? As long as they're not hurting themselves or someone else, where is the space for that person's humanity? I also understand some African spiritual practices where in other parts of the world, a person like that would actually be nurtured and be seen as gifted and would be elevated within the community and would be revered or would be sought after for their visions, for the things that they're able to see. So it's like, I started to be like, what kind of world? Like, is this even real? Is it a wall? Like, is this a microphone on? Is this thing on? So I started to like trip some things. I mean, I worked in all the units. So I worked with adolescents, which was really hard for me. There was a day that I was working there and one of the young girls went to go talk to the doctor, and she's like, listen, this medication is not helping me. Like, I don't feel like I have control of myself. I don't have control of my mind, like all of that. And I heard him say with my own ears, he said, if you want to get out of here, you'll take the medication. And I was like, wait a minute. I think I want to go to heaven. And I think I'm going to be like complicit in this. I don't think that's how that's supposed to go. Like,
let's stop this for a second.
I think so. Like, what the hell? So that was really hard for me to see people kind of moving in that way. And the place that I was working is a for-profit. And then I started questioning, like, for-profit healthcare. And as I spent more and more time working there in more and more departments and understanding how things work, it's like, oh, you get paid more money as a hospital for an intake than you do for someone getting well and being stable and being able to be on their own. So you can get them like well enough to be discharged, but like not well enough to remain stable. And also we know that we're putting them into a society that's not stable either. So like, it's a perfect soup. But then they can come back and it's like a revolving door. And I was like, oh, I don't know that I want that on my conscience. I don't want that I don't want it at all. So I tried different units. I worked with adults. I worked with like acute patients and like less acute. And then I worked in a partial program, which is like another aspect of the hospital where they're there only like during the daytime. I worked in the substance abuse clinic. I was like, oh, well, maybe that's like a place that I could like land. Then I went into administration. I was like, well, I'll work with like doing authorizations for insurances. Cause like, at least if I can't help people on the unit, at least I can like fight with the insurance company and advocate for why this schizophrenic person that like is afraid to open their mail should have their health insurance. And you're like, well, they didn't send the paper back. They don't open their mail. Like, what are we talking about here? And then I can take my like Scorpio fighter like energy, and instead of like cussing people out on the streets, I can cuss out these people on this phone and just be like, y'all are ridiculous. So I ended up doing like all of that. And that ended up really, I think, informing even more about how I understood humanity and how I can hopefully try to hold space for people. And then there's mental health struggles in my own family. I mean, I remember being at work one day and clocking in and getting ready to go to my unit. And I see my cousin. I'm like, what are you doing there? I mean, I know why you're here. It's not a secret or anything, but it's very prominent in my family on both sides, on my mom's side and on my dad's side. I think my dad's grandmother like died in a psych hospital, which tells you kind of how that especially at that time in the world, like you got to kind of really be batshit crazy to like be like, they weren't just putting anybody in there. Now they kind of put everybody everywhere, but she was like really unwell. So there is something that I feel, I think that all of that kind of experience informs the way that I try to show up person to person, the way that I try to show up in the classroom, in the studio, why I think it's so important for people to be embodied, like being connected to your brain. You're putting your brain and your body and your spirit together. That's the Trinity. That's going to help us to sort of be a little bit more realized and to be present and be more responsive and be more connected to nature, which is going to help to heal us in ways that we need because of the world that we're living in. So that experience was very is transformative the word? It's another transformative experience. I think that's a word for this episode.
The transformative nature of dance. Yeah, you like that? You like that? Yes, I love that. Wow. All right, we need to. That was so good. Like, I feel like it like opened like, I don't know. It was more heart work for you, and it like changed the way you saw the world and you received people, but like all for the good. Like, I feel like we all should have to do a stint of working at a psych hospital.
Okay, good luck. I think I'm a little crazy. That's why. I think I'm like, most like those are my people.
So you were supposed to be there. That's why you felt so at home.
Kind of. Well, they would say that to us. The patients would be like, we are forced to be here. You guys actually like clock in and have keys and like walk through the door. So who's the crazy one? And I'd be like, well, I guess you have a point.
Touche. Touche. Oh my gosh. Wow. I never even thought about that. That's kind of,
yeah, they ate with that one a little bit.
For choosing to be here. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's roll into Modern Connections. What is Modern Connections?
Modern Connections is a arts-based organization, small business. It's a for-profit organization that serves the public through dance education. And we do it through a variety of pillars as the way our business is set up. So we have classes as one pillar. We have performances as another pillar. We have workshops as a third pillar. And then we have partnerships as our fourth pillar. And so depending on, and I think this also kind of speaks to the busyness of my entire life. There's no way that I was ever going to choose one thing in my life. Depending on how you discover or enter into Modern Connections, you can kind of engage. Like, it's kind of like choose your own adventure, and the ways that you might want to explore movement and dance in your life. First of all, dance is like sort of a triggered word for people. They're like, I don't dance. My father, I don't dance. I don't do that shit. I'm like, okay, thank you. But there are people that, there's a lot that come through classes, right? Someone that's like, I'm looking for a dance class and I'm an adult and I've been dancing my whole life and I want to like do this thing. Okay, great. So we do that. Or there'll be the people that like to see dance, maybe. Or maybe I'm loving that we're living in 2025 where everybody wants to go to an event. Somebody wants to go to like some kind of curated whatever, and people are more open to trying new things. I think that since quarantine, when we had so much isolation from folks, that people are looking to sort of do more activities. So there's a little bit more openness to something like a random dance show. So people could engage with Modern Connections through performances. We do workshops where we work with organizations, either they're nonprofits or they can be for-profits or they can be a university or whatever, where we're bringing, or even I'll give the example of working with the city government, where we did something called Moving Through the Budget, where you are learning about the budget and the budgeting process of the city of Boston and using dance as the modality to do that. And originally they were like, what do you mean? A flash mob? And I was like, oh, Jesus, no.
Flash mob.
You're going to do a flash mob about the budget? Like, no. Like, cards, time cards. Like, no, not at all. But there are ways that we can think about how we process information. And as a student who is not very good at sitting still and memorizing and copying and being like, I learned something. I learned through embodiment. I learned by like, ask me to read this thing and then like make a movement about that thing, right? Whatever the storyline is. And then like, give me that movement back. Okay, now if I have to do it through movement, I'm going to be able to say it. And I'm going to be able to remember it because I know how it feels. Or I know how I was connecting maybe the symbology of that movement or gesture to a concrete concept, something like a capital plan. A capital plan is like a 5-year plan. Okay, and in that 5-year plan, that's when you have like your big, if you're thinking about a home, that might be like a big renovation or like something that you want to do long term that's going to take multiple steps. Okay, well, I can create maybe 5 different movements that go with that kind of concept, and that the movements get bigger and stronger and more fortified. And I understand that that is like what would be a long-term thing that gets me to a structural end or a structural change at the end. We can do that through movement. Now, by the time you put all your movements together and we're working with whatever this curriculum is, guess what? You have a series of movements or gestures that we can put one after the other. Maybe I throw on some music. Are you dancing? Did you make a dance? I didn't choreograph it. You choreographed a whole... What do you mean you're not a dancer? So we use dance in our workshops to help process information. It also ends up making you feel better. You leave feeling more oxygenated. You're being creative with people either next to you. Maybe it's by yourself or you're watching them, or you're interacting and seeing what they're doing. Maybe you're doing it together. So that's opportunity for community building. And you get to walk away and be like, I actually understand now that capital plan concept and how that can be applied in my life, or how I might want to challenge that, or how I might want to engage with legislature, or who I want to call as my representative to say that this isn't working for me in my neighborhood and how we might want to change it. So although it's not a Janet Jackson concert, it ain't Beyonce, it's not flash mob, but the process of using movement to understand something in order to effectively create change in either in your own personal life or even larger or broader out is really what's at the center of what Modern Connections is trying to do for all of us. And then the last pillar, just to mention, is partnerships, which I think is pretty straightforward. We're trying to partner with everybody. And at this point in this business plan, I need sponsors. So I need somebody with money that can help us continue to do the really effective work that we're doing. But yeah, that's it's a lot. It's Modern Connections.
Beautiful. It's so good. Okay, so how did we start this? Why did we start this?
Perfect. I started because I wasn't seeing what it was that I wanted in Boston. So I was dancing for a long. I moved here in 2005. Moved to Boston in 2005. Was dancing, taking classes, traveling, auditioning, doing all the things. And then there was a turning point for me where I was like, actually, I keep bumping heads with a lot of people. I keep trying to work with people, and I'm not an effective collaborator because I have a clear vision. And when I started to understand that was what the tension and the friction was, I was able to free myself, and Modern Connections was born, because I was like, it's about the gift that was given to the vision that God gave me and that I'm supposed to be fulfilling. And I keep trying to be like, let's do this together. And God's like, can you just get rid of it? Like, just mind your business. Mind the business I'm giving you. So in 2014, I went out on a limb and put a proposal together, a teaching proposal, a pedagogical approach, and a cover letter, resume, and started shopping it around to different not dance studios for children, but dance studios that I could rent from to do like open public classes. And a lot of places said no. They were like, no one wants to do that. No one's going to do that. I teach a particular style. I teach modern dance, but it comes through the lens of Lester Horton, and through the vision of Jenny Oliver. So there's a whole lot that I could say inside of that as well. But that particular technique and form was taught for many years, generations, and then it kind of fell off. And so the people that were the gatekeepers were like, we've done that, and people don't want that anymore. And we're moving more towards commercial style dance where everybody wants a nice little Instagram video with the lights and the choreography. And I'm like, yes, there's that. And also, like, I just want people to be in their bodies, and maybe it's not about the lights and all the other things. And like, where can that space exist? So the Dance Complex was the first people to say yes to me and gave me a chance. And I started teaching. First, like year and a half, I had an average of like 1 to 3 people. So that means that some weeks nobody was coming to the class. For a whole year, I was paying the rent on that every single month. And there was something that was like, even if nobody else comes, I need this. And this will just be my space that I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I'm just going to keep showing up. And so it really was like just born out of a need to fulfill the vision of the way that I wanted people to be able to engage with dance, that wasn't about who gets to it, who doesn't, and who has a body that can and a body that can't. And like, you don't look like all of that kind of stuff that kind of comes with the dance training that I was exposed to. I wanted a different approach in a space where I liked the music, and with a teacher that also was going to have as much rigor as Naila had, that first Black teacher that I had, that was going to stand in front of the room and be like, and you're still going to do this. So you can come in with your body and all your ailments and like all the things that are happening in your head that are telling you that you're not, it's not right for you, you're not good enough or whatever. You can bring that fullness into the room, because it's a little tangent, but when I was in Brazil, I was studying with Vera Passos. And one of the things that she said is, don't leave anything at the door. And growing up, we were like told, check your shit at the door and like leave the bad stuff there. You can get that later. And she was like, no, you need to bring everything inside of the room because you need the positive, the negative, the good, the bad. And that has to harmonize together because you are a full human being. You are not a compartmentalized entity. And so everything has to come in. And then we make space for how do we work with what's happening in the room? And maybe that means in some instances you're not doing it full out, or you have to modify something, or maybe you're not going to do that stuff on the floor. We're going to do it standing instead or whatever. But there's ways that we can negotiate what our needs are so that there's space for all of us. So Modern Connections was coming from that lens in 2014. And then in 2016, I was like, I want to choreograph. And somebody told me choreographing and teaching are not the same things, and one does not serve the other. And I was like, okay, great. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do both of these things because you told me that I can't.
Yeah. You actually do. I can't do both. And I have to choose. I'm going to do both. I'll do it.
So yeah, I ended up starting to choreograph in 2016. And then just from there, it's kind of been a little bit of a snowball that has grown into, I believe in 2022 is when I changed the legal status and made it an LLC. And I have an employee that works for me. And we have 2 independent contractors that work for us as an organization. And then we contract out other work depending on if, like, we just recently had a performance. And so we have to have like a videographer, and then you've got to have, the front of house people, and you've got to have a photographer, and you've got to have hospitalities. And if you're going to have performers, you're able to pay the people that are performing, and like all of that kind of, in the market, who's doing the marketing and how are you hiring that out? So the whole business structure has like really ballooned and blown into this much larger thing than this dance class that nobody was coming to in 2014. But yeah.
Wow. How does your brain wrap around all that you just stated, like the business side of things, as while also being the choreographer, while also having that dancer's heart? How do you wrap yourself around the collared stuff?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a challenge, but to me, I feel very much like this is it. This is all I'm going to do. I'm not going to be a scientist. I'm not going to do it. Like, I just have to figure out how to make it work. Did I go to school for business? No. Do my parents own businesses? No. Do I know anybody that really owns an arts-based, dance-based business? I mean, I know them, but not enough to like, that no one's shepherding me along. And so it really is a lot of trial and error. And I'm so grateful. My operations and development manager, her name is Amy Harris, and her and I have been working together, and she literally holds my hand. I'll be like, I can't do this. I don't know what this tax thing is. And like, we got to like fill out this form, and like, you got to sign this thing, and we got to notice about this. And like, I don't really, and she's like, okay, so let's open the piece of paper and let's read it. And then I read it and I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, well, it just says right here, we're really kind of like that. So I have a lot of support in that way. And then we are just ferocious at like responding to community, what community needs, asking our people that take classes, what do you want to see? What do you need? Is this time still working for you? Would you like things to shift? While also applying for grants nonstop. And Amy's looking for grants and we need to put this application in, and we have a whole system. I don't know what you use for your business, but we use Monday.com, which is like a software that, it's like a organizing software. And so we can work asynchronously. It's got a bunch of boards on it, and there's lots of like automations that we have and like things that we set up. So it's almost like having another worker that can help us run the business, because then we'll get that piece of paper that says you have 90 days to whatever, send this thing. And I'm like, I can't do that today. I have to go choreograph, and I don't even have the bandwidth to think about this. She's like, don't worry, we'll just like put it on Monday and it'll get automated. When would you like to have that thing remind? I'm like, I'll have space in 2 weeks when I'm done with the project. That's when I'll have space. Great. So then you'll just get an automation. It'll remind you on the day and the time that you have time for it. And then at our next meeting, we can talk about it. And that's it. So it's really, that's kind of how it works.
Wow. And that wasn't even, Monday didn't even pay for that little segment, that little drop in there. Wow. That's how I know you really like it. You really.
Also, I need a sponsorship. I need some money. You're helping me get money, but I need more.
I need all the money, okay? Please. Oh, that was so good. But no, I do want to say I've heard of Monday. I feel like I've seen their commercials. I've rather heard their commercials. But I love when a program it doesn't just say all the good AI things, but it can actually execute and like actually make my life easier. So because sometimes you'll like download or get the app or whatever, and it's like, you're not really doing what I need you to do. Like, bring me all this stuff, but I don't really need any of that.
Yeah.
But it seems like Monday really is like.
Monday's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love it too because it has time tracking. So like so all the people that work there's like 4 people right now that are working for me. So then they can track their time. So when they're working on, and I can see like, how long did it take you to make that graphic? Or like, how long does it take to create this application? Or like whatever. And then at the end of the month or at the end of the week, whatever the payroll cycle is, then we just go in. It's like, okay, you worked 20 hours, 30 hours, whatever it is. We can cut you a check and here you have your check. Or we have a payroll. So we work through Gusto, which is another sponsor us. Gusto is also great because they handle your tax stuff for you too. All like quarterly filings and like all your stuff at the end of the year. I don't have to worry about that. So yeah, there's a lot of like automated systems that are very helpful for us.
Love. Can people connect with you? Let them know if whether they're dancers or whether they just have questions for you or they just want to talk to you. How do people get a hold of Jenny?
Yeah. So you can find me mostly everywhere that says Modern Connections, but I'm going to direct you to the website. So the website is Modern Connections collective.com. So the connections has an S at it. I also have a pretty active Instagram account. So it's modern_connections is the Instagram account. I should have a LinkedIn. I do, but it's not, I know everybody uses it. I don't use it that well. So it's not that developed, but you can really find everything. You can start at the website and go out wherever it is that you need to go to. We are open for classes. We're open for workshops and they can be personalized. Also for performances, looking for commissions to help us as well. Speaking engagements. I actually taught as I spoke as a keynote address at Thayer Academy for Black History Month. Well, it happened in Black History Month. It was for their summit. 2 different things. But anyway, speaking engagements, I also do consultations. So if there are things that you want to consult about around art and business or dance, those are things that I have a lot of experience with. I'm the head of dance performance at Tufts University. So we can just like help navigate academia and in some ways through the experiences that I've had. So yeah.
Everything and anything.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have 2 closing questions. First one, I hope that you saw it. Did you see Sinners?
2 times already. I'm going tonight.
Yes.
For a third.
Yes.
Yes.
I need to know what your thoughts were.
Oh my gosh, I loved it.
You loved it?
Oh, there's so much in that. I mean, Ryan Coogler is amazing. And the history that is just like oozing out of everything in there, that could be a course itself. Like that should be studied. And like Ryan's brain, it's like, but like, I loved it. So good. I think the thing that I really liked about him as the artist is like, he was doing something for himself. That this was about serving that need that he had for him, about soothing or connecting with his uncle through this blues music. And that's what like took him down this journey and helped him to have this inspiration or this vision of like what the movie would be about. But really it was about taking care of himself. And so if we take care of ourselves, then we also can be taking care of other people, because through his work and trying to heal whatever was happening with the death of his uncle, he made this movie that we are benefiting from. And then we're like, let's have a course about it and let's go see it 1,000,000 times and let's see ourselves on screen and let's look at all the dancing that's in it and like also be horrified.
Yes, all in one. All in one. And see Black people and beautiful Black men. And just, it's just so good. So good. Okay, my last question. This is a question I ask all my guests. So I created this platform for people to learn because I think knowledge is like the thing that transcends us. So I created this platform for people to learn. So I always ask people at the end of this, what is one thing that you wish more people knew? And that can be in regards to you, in regards to dance, in regards to the world. But what's something that you wish just more people knew?
Yes. Thank you for that question. I think that's a very beautiful question. And I'm going to call in my good sister friend, Sadada, and something that she told me that has transcended or transformed my life that I wish I would have just knew earlier. People can only meet you to the depths that they've met themselves. So how do we take time to be with ourselves, to accept ourselves, to look at ourselves? Because the way that we meet ourselves is how we meet other people, or how we can exchange with other people, and vice versa. That way we don't take things as personally, or there's maybe the opportunity for less hatred and more understanding between people. Because you can be like, well, maybe that's something that I just do all the time. Somebody pissed me off and I'm like, oof, I can know you have met yourself. That is not my business. That has nothing to do with me. You'd say, you better go sit at your altar or something, go for a walk, drink some water, because clearly you're outside of yourself. But I think that that's something I wish people knew. That way we could just better connect with each other. And maybe there could be less honking of the horns and pointing fingers at one another and being pissed at this person or that person. So yeah, people can only meet you to the depths that they've met themselves.
Gonna replay in my brain.
Mine too. That's why I say it.
That's gonna replay in my brain for so long, because it's so true. And I have heard somebody say something like that, but not as beautifully poetic. But yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And if you just take a moment to think about the things, the certain things that you've maybe put on the back burner because you don't want to attack it yet, or you don't want to, you don't want to go down that road yet. That is a depth that you're allowing yourself to get to, but not really get through to go deeper. So when you meet somebody, I'm not going to meet you as deeply as you are, because I'm afraid to even get that deep with me. I can't even go.
That's that Scorpio shit. Deep people just in I call it the magenta of the earth, in the magma. What is the root, the depth of the thing? I know. To the bottom. Kind of. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me. This is amazing.
Hanging out.
Some other time.
Right, offline.
Talk about some real things. Yes, in the depths.
Oh my gosh, so good. All right. Thank you for watching if you watched. Thank you for listening if you've listened. You can catch Through with a Splash of Tea every Tuesday and Wednesday on all streaming platforms, including YouTube. Bye now.